You think it like Google.
Yeah.
This is not a basic mode. You're broadcasting now, it's not your name, you're off on here. Your screen.
Oh, my sleep.
Old how to do that.
So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Yeah.
We'll start with introduction. The front is
Ryan Wilhite, Indigo.
Mark Myers, City of Greenwood.
Mark Rankin, Hamilton County. Jim Coughlin, City of Beach Grove.
Nathan Sheets, City of Indianapolis.
Sean Northwest, MPO.
Kristen Sanchez, MPO.
Jennifer Kroll, MPO.
Anna Gremling, MPO. If you guys wanna go ahead and introduce yourself, we are a small crew.
Okay, sure. I'm Marissa Byers, who's here to document the meeting for Marion. Files, here with Andy. Andy's our.
Welcome, guys.
Welcome, thanks for being here. All right, first item on for approval is the minutes from February 27, 2026. Everybody got those electronically.
Motion to approve.
Do a motion to have a second.
Second.
Okay. Any additions or corrections? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Acceptance of the financial. Kristen.
I think major things to know is within the past week or week and a half, we did receive final state fiscal year 2026 tip numbers from NDOT. It was a positive adjustment. I think in 25, our number went slightly down at the end of the year. And we are going up by about $800,000. So that is good news. I am anticipating those numbers to show on our monthly March balance report from NDOT next week. And then we should be able to make the transfer for our remaining 25% of funding for the year. So that's good news. And then they also gave us 2027 estimates. And the estimate right now is about $4 million higher than 2026. So that's good as well. And another update in regards to PL is we have spent down 2025. And our 8% spent down on our 2026 PO as of the end of February, so we are actively working through that. Reimbursements are going out to NDOT.
Kristen, I was thinking at MPO council actually yesterday when I was looking at the 27 numbers, those are our numbers. But in fiscal year 27, we do get the Bloomington money back, right? And so that, when does that reflect on our numbers?
Reflect our numbers.
I just
but
think we
it's
should
not-
remind them
yeah.
of that. No, Bloomington's aware of it, but just. Yeah, I was thinking about that with MPO
I think
council.
that'll happen when the project that's utilizing those funds is ready to bid, so. Just, I think December or January.
Came out
So
fast.
just a reminder in. Help me out, late fiscal year 24, right, we had a few projects that weren't hitting their target letting dates that. We're switching over from federal to state. Bloomington could use those funds, so we let Bloomington use those funds in fiscal year 24. With the intent of getting those back in fiscal year 27, this way the funding didn't revert back to the state. Yeah, Bloomington doesn't get a lot of money oftentimes to be able to elect the projects. So it's a win-win for both organizations, but it didn't know, like, there was an initial estimate spreadsheet on 27, but it did dawn on me that we need to make sure. That NDOT moves that money over to our side of the budget. Andrew.
Sure.
That didn't happen on the way in, did it? Oh, okay.
I'm testing out mobility issues.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm running late.
Did you run? I said, did you run? Wait.
Did I run? Yeah.
When it runs back for your health.
We need approval on financial reports.
Can you talk a little bit about, this is the financial statement memo that you have. The HWC is diligently working to close out ready multi reallocation plans.
Can we take some of that?
Sure.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a lot of ready discussion today. One, you'll see that there is an HWC amendment further down the list. I will tell you, it was a heavy lift. Getting these projects running and moving and going and the project selection. They're also finding the last 10% is a heavy lift on staying on organizations to spend down their money. I will argue there are 4 or 5 projects that aren't gonna spend down their money, so we are now going through a paperwork process. And amending or like cleaning those books and reallocating those funds because we. On the table for Ready 1.0, and so HWC is spending a little. Years. See what's out there and see what Streetlight has to offer and some of the other vendors, and then, ask questions is a big one. So. Let's talk about the highlights here. 79 IMPO and member agencies, 30 new users.
And just a little bit for the
Yeah.
part of the meeting.
I will verbally talk with this.
Oh, that's.
Okay, sorry. 79 IMPO and member agencies, 30 new users in the last 12 months. We had various webinars quarterly on safety and active transportation. Oops. It looks like active transportation, we got 8, we had something in November on safe streets and safety insights, 12 attendees, safe streets again. 22 safety, just using regular replica tools, 22, ADT deep dive, 19 attendees. Right, replica, actual registered users, Morgan County, Avon, Brownsburg, Carmel, Greenfield, Westfield. Yeah, but you got that. Indianapolis, Fishers, Indigo, Whitestown, Wardsville, so. And then we have 15 consultant users, right, which means they're probably doing work for all of you. accessing the data. Since April of last year, when we signed it, we had 990 total sessions, 500 app deployments, 136 studies created, and 800, slightly over 800 data downloads. I'm so happy you asked that question, because I have staff pull the data. So-
We did not coordinate that.
Yeah,
This is just their, the IMPO's own use of
yes.
replica as well.
Yes. I think some of the studies created, our numbers were factored into that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's definitely. Almost, I would argue, now that we're providing the tool. If we ever had a budget crunch, right, and like budget went really low, I feel like that would be a hard tool to draw back on because we have so many users of it, so many people are getting accustomed. And to be fair, every year when we have a tip call, we're relying and we're asking people to use replica data unless they have their own actual live data counts or traffic counts, because we want everybody to use the same, like if it's off, it's gonna be off for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we're pushing everybody to use whatever platform we're on for the tip call for projects.
I did ask that question from a budget standpoint.
Yes, yes.
It's hard to disentangle them.
Any other questions? We have motion to approve,
Make that motion.
second, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
Sorry, it was
Ready
Rick
for
Hoffman and
resolution.
Paper Sheets.
Who was the second?
Thank you.
Thank you. This is why I shouldn't run the computer.
Yeah.
I can't, but. Okay, the next item up. Mayor, are you okay if I move on?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just
I
started.
already
talking.
told you.
Okay, the next item is the Hand-Wagon Klein amendment, and let's talk through that. And then talk through Plainfield and Franklin. As I mentioned earlier. Allocating the remaining funds on Ready 1.0.
I'm sorry, do you need to have this invoice pulled up?
No,
Okay,
not at all.
it's okay. I'm easily distracted, so.
Yeah, no. you should- Get to the right spot for you guys. So Hand-Wagon Klein is asking for another 44.5. And that should get them through the end of Ready 1.0 administration. So as I mentioned earlier, we are cleaning up all of the remaining funds on any project. And trying to redeploy those funds. So, one, I would argue Hand-Wagon Klein helped us identify which projects we're gonna have remaining funds left on them. And helped us, work with UI and IEPC to see which projects were eligible. So I'm gonna kind of just talk holistically because they are bundled as a group. The projects that aren't either moving forward or leaving funds on the project is we have a Morgan County project that is allocating or leaving about $330,000 on the table. We have Avon, and Ryan Cannon knows this. He was leaving slightly under $800 on the table, and going through the paperwork process for $800. It's a lot of paperwork kind of for that. And then we had the chamber and the Indie Arts Council deploying funds in what I would call like mini grants. The chamber underestimated their administrative costs grossly. And the Indie Arts Council is going to leave funds on the table as well.
Chamber overestimated.
That is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yes, they overestimated
They're not gonna spend nearly as much as we thought they got.
Yep. So with all of that, it gets us, I have sent, letters to all those organizations, letting them know. In Morgan County's case, like, they sent us a letter letting us know that they weren't gonna use the funds. And we've asked them for final billings. We anticipate, and you will see in both the Plainfield and Franklin's case, those are not to exceed numbers of 275, 941. The memo I gave you showed slightly, oh yeah, they're the same numbers. Those numbers may come down, they won't exceed the 275. So when we went to IEDC and said there was money on the table, how do you want us to handle it? Or say we, it was really handled by everyone's line. They suggested that the money get reallocated to these two projects, knowing the deadline that this money has to be spent by the end of the year. They suggested Franklin, they suggested the Plainfield Echo Park. That they're far enough along and they can draw the money down yet this year by the ready work code deadline and meet all the necessary match requirements. So we have never been involved in the project selection or the project allocation piece of it. I think Rose was kind of early on, but right, that was really left to the regions and we're just administering funds. So we are asking for your authorization today, to not only adjust the Anne Klein amendment, to continue to lean on them through the rest of Ready 1.0, but also asking for authorization essentially to enter into 2 new agreements. Up to that $275 amount. And then with using remaining funds left over for Ready 1.0. And I believe those projects are already had Ready 2.0 funding on them and we're in the pipeline. Yeah, that's true. At one point, we were looking, or IUDC said for Morgan County, they had a couple of projects, look at reallocating the funds within Morgan County to those additional projects. We worked with their new county administrator and he essentially said, I appreciate you trying to move the money to our other projects, but then I would have to give back additional grant funding. So he's like, it's a wash of just a paperwork process. So we really would like to just give back the money. So it's been a little bit of an administrative headache, but I'm excited to see the money be allocated to Central Indiana communities, which IEDC didn't have to do, so.
There's a couple of amendments to Franklin's.
Franklin is getting, of the 2 projects, Plainfield's getting money and then Franklin's getting money, the active adult community center.
Yeah. Like going active and then keep saying the town.
Oh,
I don't wanna hurt Steve's feelings.
yes,
It's an easy city.
sure.
Motion to approve. I'm sorry. So. Is this an increase in funding for the overall Ready 2.0 projects? Or is it just going to decrease the Ready 2.0 amounts that the projects will currently draw down?
It is my understanding an increase to those projects. I think they were gonna have local funds
Okay,
on them.
so it displaces local funds.
Yeah, displaces local funds. Can you speak to the,
Yeah, that's my understanding too, right? So we're at, I think we were gonna get 3.7 million from Ready 2.0, so this would be an additional up to $275,000, but we were already at like a 2-to-1 match in terms of local match, so it doesn't change the equation there in terms of match.
Okay. This is an up to amount. Is there a possibility that they wouldn't spend the full amount?
it is not my understanding. I think at this point, if Franklin or Plainfield wouldn't spend of money. I think we're running down on a deadline, because all the funding has to be spent by the end of the year.
The not to exceed is because we don't know exactly how much money is going to be left over that needs to shift.
Yes,
Got it.
So it could be less than 275, but it won't ever be more than the 275 number. So it
Yes.
could end up being 250 is what
Yeah.
actually gets moved, but we'll spend every penny of it, yeah.
Okay, mostly I'm worried, in the event that there wasn't an ability to spend the money down, what we would do as the exec body, because that's why we're here. Because these other projects couldn't spend down.
it's my understanding IEDC feels very comfortable with the total dollar amounts of how much locally both Plainfield and Franklin have in theirs.
Okay,
That they could pretty easily spend the money. And those projects are complete or nearing complete and just waiting to like build down, almost like advanced construction.
Yeah, how I'm understanding it is, like, we've already spent more than $3 million there, right? And what we would do is pull invoices from work already done. This would get paid out first,
okay,
and then we would then start hitting up Ready 2.0 dollars for reimbursement of money that we've already spent. So basically it's already spent.
yeah,
It's just a matter of working through the paperwork to get that reimbursement back.
okay,
It's moving from the least active projects to the most active.
Yeah.
So it's-
And we gave organizations like the Indianapolis Chamber to today to give us the estimates of what they think they're gonna spend down for the rest of the year, so we can help finalize the 275 numbers.
Okay.
So those were some of the things that we were waiting to come in is their administrative costs, Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, they estimated they were gonna spend $166,000 to date. They've only billed down like 6,000. So,
pretty,
yeah, so we have
yeah,
like $150,000 that we can reallocate, but we want the chamber to tell us how much they're going to estimate, so.
and this is the same Ready 1.0 regional body. Right, cause there
Yes.
were, yeah, okay, this is the same one, but we're comfortable with it because IEDC is the one saying. Hey, these are the projects that we think are pretty far along already, and so this is okay, perfect.
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise for us, so.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, and, you know, I've got 50 to $100 million worth of, investment that I need to make in this park over time, so I'm not concerned about spending the money, right? I will find a way.
Nothing better than being able to call one of your communities, be like,
Yeah,
like IEDC has looked at you. I didn't know if you knew about that ahead of time, but.
Yeah, no, I did not.
That would be the thing.
no questions.
All right, do you have a motion to approve by Herbert, is that a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you.
All right.
Hey.
All right, historic strategic plan.
Yes, we are. So a couple of things, just a reminder, if you're traveling with us. Across the table from a big, all of you are. Sorry, Nathan, that trumped you on that one. Please make your airfare, because of something with big soccer hosting.
Before World Cup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is a big soccer thing, yeah.
I just looked and it was pretty cheap,
Oh, was it?
so,
Okay.
yeah, but I would say definitely get it booked soon if you have.
Yeah, I already know.
Yeah, we struggled with hotels. That was the challenge for us. So maybe, right, there's lots of lights going in and that's less of a challenge.
Share the PowerPoint.
What are those dates, Pam?
I think the Thursday.
June 10th through 12th, is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Wednesday through Friday. That sounds right. Sorry, write that down. Share, yes, sorry.
Oh, sorry. There.
So,
Yeah.
More than 2 o'clock, right?
I do this a lot. Slideshow. Okay. Wanted to talk a little bit about where we've been and just give some background and context, prior to going to Atlanta for our field trip. In 2018, we adopted, I'm just gonna say this administration's first strategic plan for the IMPO. I'm sure there have probably been, strategic plans prior to Sean and I. But that really laid out, I think, some pretty groundbreaking framework. As you know, we separated from the city of Indianapolis, a group to become an independent organization outside of the city structure, and tried to formalize the IMPO as a regional convener. We also, I'm gonna say solidified, which I really think is a solid standing point of our 4 pillars of convene, inform, plan, and fund. I think, and I'm gonna quiz staff and give some bonus Starbucks gift cards out, but I think everybody on staff could tell you those are the IMPO's 4 pillars, right? We have the ability to convene regional conversations. We try to inform those conversations with solid data. We try to plan for strong investments and make sure, right, the elected officials around the region have a plan for investment and then bring funding into their region. So very excited about those pillars and that, at least from staff, everybody knows kind of that is the framework that we are working around. We can check the box, obviously became an independent organization. In 2018, we did expand upon the IMPO. While we are founded in transportation planning, we are definitely doing work in land use, economic development, and participating in some water planning activities. Obviously not to the district level, but participating in some of the collaboration that's being led by citizens and some of the water collaborative group. There was a big connotation in 2018, and when we tried to codify ourselves and separate as a governmental organization, we're like, we don't need a new government organization. So it was always the talking point of no, this isn't new. This is literally like separating this department to a separate organization. I remember having those conversations. I wanted to rename the organization at the time. That clearly was confusing people. They thought then if I renamed it, it was a new governmental organization. So we have just stayed with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization because it was a very confusing talking point to just like it simplified things, right? We could have changed our name to the Council of Governments, a regional, like Central Indiana, but we stayed there. Umbrella, we literally stole this from Atlanta, when we went there for our last site visit, and this was literally the vision at the time. Right, transportation, that is the designated NPO at the time, we were staffed for the Central Indiana RDA. And then the idea was we were gonna try to go after the economic, what's the other D?
District.
Development district, through the EDA at that time. But then also had the ability for land use and housing, right? We've done our first housing study there. We have done some resiliency work in the environmental aspect, and then data, which is always something we've been very strong in. At the time, right, strong in transportation, very much the same thing that I think we are seeing in this round of feedback is like, don't lose transportation. That is the core of what you do, the bread and butter, don't take your eye off the ball. Right, there are other areas that it makes sense for us to be at least partners or stakeholders or data providers in. Right, land use housing, again, we're continuing to partner with MIBOR on that, did conduct our first housing study. At the time, we were doing some work with CICDO, which is right kind of evolved to the RDA, the new RDA, as I would call it. At the time, we were staffing the RDA under economic development, and that was when it was limited to just 5 board members before it had the new reauthorization approach. And then data, I'd argue we have moved and put a lot of our data sources online, so we've definitely made some progress in that compared to where we were in 2018 when this plan was developed. So, right, we became an independent organization, we had a transition team, adopted our own HR policies, still are on the city's IT framework, that's why I'm able to Teams Nathan over there. He's like, I don't understand. Why does it look like you're part of our agency? Because we partner with the city of Indianapolis. We did look at office space. It's incredibly high. It doesn't, yeah, for the number of times we are in the office. We don't hold a lot of public facing meetings. It just didn't make sense to increase that line item. Bylaws, we continue to touch as needed. It's very important to me that we are, following the bylaws to a T. Legal, right, we partner with Frost Brown Todd for that overhead instead of corporation counsel. But to figure every piece and part of that, that was a heavy lift. And then I would argue, even when we actually separated for the first year, we were still figuring new challenges out, just as we, worked through the first person that went on short-term disability. Or, I don't know, shopping for office space. Until we shopped, we couldn't figure out that it was really gonna increase our bottom line. And we weren't certain that's where we wanted to go.
Roughly, I think, all in, it probably roughly increased our overhead by $200,000 a year or something like that to separate from the city. But that's come with a lot more control over our own processes and a lot more speed, particularly in like processing contracts and things like that.
Yeah, to get a contract out through the city of Indianapolis, it's very cumbersome and it's a long time. And to have MDC members in control of approving a contract that really don't understand who the MPO is, they're like, why are we processing a contract for Hamilton County? Like, I appreciate not being out or in that
It was a
process.
mismatch for sure.
Yeah.
It's cleaned up.
So contracting time is definitely reduced. We still follow the RFP process. We brought staff salaries, staff raises, all in-house. Like, I feel like Mayor Myers, I had to have him help me with the city of HR when we were under the city to just talk about staff raises. There's just been a large amount of, I think, increased autonomy, as well, and just brought more transparency to the process, being an independent organization. We have been growing, in convening some of the other areas outside of, we did do our first comprehensive economic development strategy. That was our first non-transportation plan that we had conducted outside, once we were a separated agency. Coincidentally, that document now needs to be updated again next year. The resiliency we have done, obviously safety is related to planning, but the housing study and the maximizing the value of land, the MVL study are all areas that we are growing. We also are, and I don't know how many of you know this, are convening the land use planners of central Indiana every other month, once a quarter. Quarterly, in meeting and talking about all the issues all the communities are facing. And it has been, I think, a really good conversation. I don't always make it, but when people are talking about data center issues or, what are some of the other?
Population projections, they're talking about, they have a lot of zoning issues in common, issues with authorizing legislation and things like that. It's been a good forum for the planners to get together and talk about those things.
Sometimes a little bit like therapy, but right, and they are able to share information. Right, not all the time is Greenwood, right, in communication with McCordsville. And so if they're like, oh yeah, we've done that zoning, we'll share a copy of our code, and then it's able to really link the two. just talking about the housing study, resiliency snapshot, we've put a lot more data online. Whether it be the replica data or zoning maps, those types of things are now available for everybody to have. Obviously, we talked about, we did facilitate the change to bring more formula funds, planning dollars to central Indiana, and over 500,000 of that has gone to local planning studies this year. So we continue to try to formalize ourselves as a convening. I told you about the planners. We are also trying to get, this is interesting, the data and the GIS users together. That may be virtually by just sheer personalities of data folks and GIS users. But what we want to make sure is happening is that everybody is aware of the data we have available and are and not buying separate data, or maybe we can all go together if we're developing layers to make sure we're sharing it. Sometimes that seems to be getting stopped at the engineers, right? Because that's who we push data out to, is normally our tech. And sometimes that's not always making it to the planners or the GIS and the data users. Not everybody is sophisticated enough to have their own GIS and data person, but a lot of our communities are. We want to make sure they're getting that information out. So I talked about the regional planning roundtable, and we are also convening a group of just citizens, to get feedback on all of our plans and some of the transit stuff that's happening around central Indiana, really using that as a focus group. And then for those that are involved in the RDA, we are working with them, and providing public engagement support on the EPMG, Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, that we weren't successful in getting infrastructure money on, but we're still doing the public involvement on that. And we did talk about, we're also serving as the fiduciary agent on round 1 of Ready. So becoming an independent organization, check, we've like crossed that box off. I think we're clearly in growing the scope of the regional coordination and aspect of the MPO. And then I think we really need to figure out and target and understand our working relationship with the RDA. There's just a copy of our founding resolution, kind of funny because it's the same code for the RDA. But I just wanted to lay that foundation just as we start thinking about the future of this organization. Like, right, we are growing, we are outside of the city structure now, and have the ability to focus in on various, I'd say, areas as this region sees fit. So obviously knowing transportation is not only our founding, but our bread and butter, but we do have the ability to work with the RDA and help identify gaps in any other area. So I'm pretty excited about that. Pretty excited. Any questions? Mayor Kaufman, I know you've been around, but in a newer position the last couple of years. Do you have any questions leading up to?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I kind of question on the housing, you know that you've got something coming up on that.
Yeah.
That you mentioned that you're meeting with this committee, people, on there. Is anyone letting the lobbyist group, are they making them aware of what's kind of going on there and some of the key things that are coming out? The only reason that I bring that up is because with House Bill 1001 and all the fight that we had down at the State House on that, I know it's gonna come up again. And already hearing crumbles of it, and it might be key to have some people understand what those talking points are.
Yeah.
And where there really is rub, because something's gonna happen with it.
Yeah, I don't know, but I will definitely look into that this afternoon.
Well, I mean, honestly, we did. I mean, we pretty much, I mean, I spent a whole Saturday and Sunday making phone calls to Senate. And we had it killed we had killed. And most of the reason why a lot of the Senate voted for it was because it was just gutted and it was a nothing burger. And they pretty much told the House that if you guys try to send this back with any modifications, we're gonna kill it. And it was a priority bill, so.
They put a lot of opt-out provisions in it too, right? So-
Yeah,
Yeah.
we encouraged them to put opt-in.
Oh,
Put opt-in. If you guys
Yeah.
think it's such a great bill, put opt-in. And they said, well, we don't know that that's necessary. And I said, well, you guys had a lot of success with Health First Indiana on opt-in. All 92 counties adopted it. And they opted in. So if it's so great, then do it.
yeah.
And nationally, housing stuff is, right, moving forward as well with Congressman Mike Flood. Out of Nebraska. But I'll take a look at that, I'll get with Danielle, and our lobbyists at Ice Miller and make sure they're aware. I will tell you, I live on Fox 59 on Sunday morning, talking about the speaker series and the housing, next week, so. That's, Patrick,
So a week from Sunday?
this Sunday, I'm live with Fox. It's just a 3 to 5 minute segment on the speaker that's coming down. Okay,
South Bend has some pretty cool stuff going on. They've been really aggressive about pre-approved building plans to try and encourage more missing middle housing, duplexes, tries, quads, in their community. And so, yeah.
Are they the ones who also streamline some of their planning processes to make it easier for
Yes.
people? Okay.
Yeah. So it's a really good story. Indianapolis is toying with the idea right now. They've got a committee that's working on some pre-approved building plans. They're starting not in a missing middle place. They're starting like with single family houses just in the regular urban zones. So it's it doesn't quite solve the problem, but it's learning the tool. That's where I would say Indy is with it right now. Our hope is to do something that's available regionally at some point, but we're not there yet.
I think every community wants to do something with housing, but we didn't feel in this particular case, they brought us to the table early enough. I'm
Yeah.
on it and tried to shove it down our throats.
Yeah.
And then we aggressively came out against it. And I mean, just in Hamilton County, we had over 2,500 negative comments. 2,500.
Yeah.
So we knew we were in the right place on it to defend it. But they can't keep just putting stuff out there and then trying to push it further.
Yeah, local control is kind of the first tenet here.
Well, it defies the core values of organizations that we belong to.
Yep.
I shift gears, all right?
Yeah.
So the Economic Development District,
mhm,
so when we did the SEDS the first time, I was thinking the intent was to move towards the formation of the
Mhm.
EDD.
Correct.
what happened?
Yeah, what happened, and I guess really the question is, back when I was in that space a long time ago, there was a flow of money from federal EDA to EDDs. And you had to have an EDD to get it, right?
Right.
Does that exist anymore? Is there even any value in moving forward with it?
So a couple of things I will tell you, in order to form an EDD, you need the city of Indianapolis's nod of approval as the largest entity. When this conversation was happening, they were not interested. I don't know if the tone of that tenure has changed. I stopped asking. Again, like, if our communities aren't interested in pursuing it, why should we as the MPO be interested in pursuing it? And the flow of money was like $70,000 for the administrative side of it. I do think it gave you, I'm gonna say, a gold star on your applications when you went after EPA funding. I don't know how many outside of Indianapolis, which of our communities are actually seeking EDA funding. It's my understanding it's mostly Indianapolis. That's
And India's been successful without a district. Districts
Well,
don't
yeah.
lend themselves very well to big cities. If you look at the national map of economic development districts, there's big holes on every big city for the most part. It's the same problem with the old RDAs, like there's 5 members. They have to be a direct line to EDA. It's really good for small regions and it's really tough for big regions. Like Fort Wayne really dug into it a couple of years ago and decided not to form a district either. In our case, I think Indy made the decision for us, like we weren't going to be doing it, but that's where it stood before. I'm not sure, there hasn't been conversation about restarting the district, and I'm not sure that it's needed.
And like, should it lie with the MPO? Should the RDA take the EDD designation? I feel like the RDA is more in the economic development space. I'm still trying to figure out, and I've asked this question, I met with Jenna Bentley of the RDA this week on, like, do you guys want us to do this heads update? Because we're getting near having that done. I'm not looking for a full overhaul, but we do need to kind of reset the stamp on that. And should we be doing that? My guess is the answer is going to be yes, just because we have the staffing and, you know, it's a planning process. It's, you know, I feel like the RDA is very focused on money wins.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, Scott Fadness and I have had a lot of conversations about this, right, and I think at a certain level, the focus is more on the SEDS is a kitchen sink type of plan, right, and by law, you have to, you know, reach out to all these different stakeholders and account for all these different things, right, and, I think through sort of trying to be more strategic, right? So the Catalyze group that's been going through this process and working with the state now potentially have some funding to get some things done. So I won't speak for the whole group, but from my part in it, I think having the MPO maybe pick up the SEDS piece might make sense. But the idea is that SEDS probably should be sort of subordinate to the SERTA strategy that we're putting together, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but yeah, I don't, you know. The real question, what's the value in it in the end, right? If we don't create an EDD, if we don't, right, so we actually the airport got EDA funds for a project that we are jointly doing with the airport. So it seems like the city is getting those funds when they need to on key projects, so. I don't know, I just don't know
Maybe the
what's
sense,
the long-term value.
yeah, maybe the sense is a good opportunity to bring the EDD up again, and see if there's interest in pursuing it. It was just shot down. And I, you know, was like, okay, if we're not interested, I'm not interested in filing paperwork and being part of that process if it's not really adding value. It didn't seem like it was.
But this concept of swim lanes came up in the interviews, and I think that's kind of where we are right now. The RDA is new and really opportunistic, and it's been moving fast. To their credit, without staff, and so figuring out what things make sense for us to do and maintain long term. Versus the things that are, you know, a stepping stone to get to funding, implementation funding. So the economic development stuff, it probably does split very nicely where stuff like Catalyze does belong under the RDA, and stuff like the SEDS, we could provide, the RDA can adopt, and we can, like, then we're all authorized to go after EDA.
But they have to be
Funding.
coordinated, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have to be the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree. And you're all the same people, right?
Right,
Right,
right.
so like the board members is, you know, that's kind of all the same. Things that are a little more gray, and I think we feel a little more strongly about, like the EPA work that we're coordinating on right now. The planning side of it, probably we could be doing more with right now if we had held that one. And then the RDA could go after the implementation stuff like they did. So that's one where it was a little misaligned and has been a little bit challenging. The new housing stuff, if this housing bill, it's currently in joint committee in Congress right now. If and when that passes, they're stuck on the number of corporate owners, number of properties a corporate owner can have. They're stuck on that, but it creates an entire, I would say, MPO-like planning structure for housing. That it makes a lot of sense for us to do that, right? So that's not one we want to, we're gonna have a really, a real conversation with the RDA about how we move forward with those housing planning funds. But that's something we'd be very interested in taking on. It's very similar to what we do on the transportation side.
Good question. Thanks for the dialogue. I think that was good. Any other questions? I do have a couple other topics. Go ahead. Right. Just a reminder, we do have certification around the corner, right. 14th and 15th. We are working on that. We have gotten our topics. Tell you, I feel like they're a little benign. I was hoping for some more fun topics, that really highlight some of our work. I'm just not certain what to expect. We've been through this process a couple of several times now. Just with the staffing at FHWA and FTA. I don't know what to expect, but we are preparing for that, all hands on deck. And I will report out when we should have at least one day of certification behind me before we get to policy in April. So I'll give you guys an update there. Any other points on certification, Sean?
Just a reminder, we won't be hearing directly from Federal Highway on that. They aren't going to the public meetings, so we will be reporting out what they tell us. Trust me, bro.
Yeah, and then I did want to give a quick update. I was in DC last week. I sit on the Association of MPO's policy committee and did Capitol Hill updates to several staff members from Congress from the Midwest. So I had the opportunity to sit in, obviously update. I led the conversation with Jefferson Shreve's office, but Garcia out of Illinois, Missouri. I feel like we did one other topic. Really think the feeling is that we'll be under continuing resolutions. Senate doesn't seem quite interested. There's only been a marker bill proposed. And so we were just hammering all of the marker bill talking points, trying to increase planning dollars, infrastructure dollars, decrease the local match requirements, focus on safety are all some of our talking points. I'm thinking maybe this summer, those that are fall in Treves district, that maybe it makes sense for us to catch him when he is home and reiterate those in front of him when he's home this summer.
I mean, the good news there is the marker bill is good. It's a pretty good transportation bill. Not transformative, but it definitely kind of advances things. Good start.
Following it, I probably may end up making one more trip out to DC this year. And then we'll put money in the budget for multiple trips again next year, knowing that we'll be under continuing resolutions. It's just helpful for not only our reps, but to talk directly instead of having the association speak on behalf of the members. So that is all I have. Any questions for us?
The motion to adjourn.
So we will go ahead.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed can stay here.
We have office